in order to make sure that all the boards are level, I'm using a surveying instrument that I've borrowed, which has been set up in the room and is completely vertical, and then it's at the right height, and I've set the angle at 90 degrees. I don't know if you can see that on there. And then what I'm doing is marking with a pencil as the laser dot goes round at intervals. You see the pencil mark there. In there, marking as I go around the entire room as the dot goes round. It's staying perfectly level as the instrument turns, and the dot is at 90 centimeters all the way around. Having set my horizontal line with the laser, I've now fitted battens around the whole room. These were leftover pieces from an old double bed which I kept from a long time ago. So the battens go around the whole room, and they'll be used as a primary support for the baseboards. Where I've screwed them into the wall, I've marked with a line where the screws are so that I don't accidentally screw into them again, because they'll probably be covered up by further wood later on. I've also added a support where the batten goes across the window. It's probably strong enough with the 2 bolts on the outer edge, but I was aware that once I get the boards up, I'm not going to be able to get behind here with the screwdriver or the screw drill to put that on, so I'll put it on now. And the next stage is the rest of the framework to go on. I now have the second batten on, which sits exactly below the first, such that the cross beams then sit like that, and then the plywood board sits on the top. You might think that why don't I just attach the cross beams to the batten there and then screw that batten to the wall? But I had this wood anyway, and my thinking is that if I attach the frame like that directly to the wall, if I want to remove the frame, I've got to remove it from the wall. It's probably not a good idea to keep screwing and unscrewing screws that are into the wall, because the masonry, the brickwork and the plasterwork will just fall apart. So the advantage of this system is that the plywood can be screwed onto the top, and with very few on the outer beam, and then the frame is held on by a screw which is actually comes up from underneath down here up into the cross member here. So if I want to remove the boards, the framing, I can just undo those screws, the few screws that are on the top, and the whole thing can come off and then can be replaced with new boards as necessary. Bit more progress now. Got some of the main battens across. There you can see how it's supported on the second wall batten, and then goes across to the other side. Put half joints in where the longest cross members meet to improve strength and stability, and there's one there too. So what happens next is going to put some legs in, and then I can put the cross members in. Next thing I'm doing is a leg for one of the corners. I've got screw-in threaded foot to allow me to adjust the height as I need to, and at the other end I've cut out a notch which will then fit into the corner. The next stage is now complete, which is the main beams with the legs. I might put extra legs in the middle of the long spans later, depending on how much the boards move down under their own weight. Next stage will be to fit more cross members to support the boards. Whilst putting all the framing together, I suddenly remembered I needed holes for wiring, so I've added those to the ones I've already fitted, and then as I cut new battens I'm going to put holes in. We're partway through now, so here it is, current progress. I've put one of the boards on just so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. And next stage is to just finish off all the individual battens to support the ply before that goes on. For drilling the holes for the wiring, I've been using these auger drill bits, and the way they work is there's a cone section on the top with a thread which pulls the drill bit through the wood. But I found that the best way to get a neat hole is to stop when the drill bit stops pulling, and at that point there's a tiny hole on the other side, and then complete the hole from the other side, just applying gentle pressure, and that way you get a nice clean hole without any breakout on either side, which is nice and neat for putting the wiring through.